Some gamer dude here. So, the German website for Force of Will put up all the spoilers for the Epic of the Dragon Lord this morning. I've looked through the spoilers and I've chosen 15 cards I rather liked and wanted to talk about. This isn't scripted. I'm sorry if there's noises around me. I'm just really trying to get this out in a prompt manner. So, there are other things I want to talk about in this set, but they're not appropriate for this video. So let's just get started with Pilgrim of the Star. 600 for 3 light will, except it's not. Enter, count the number of will symbols and the attribute cost of each entity you control. So resonators, regalia, and what's it called? Additions. Put a 100 counter on each of those entities equal to the number of will symbols you counted for that entity this way. So for each will symbol on each card, you give it a plus 100 counter. So this would become a 900. The big flying dragon, Star Dragon, becomes a 22. I think this is a big dumb card. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't think it's terribly competitive. If you're cutting things for competitive use, it's going to get cut. But I like it. I think it's a lot of fun. Simple card, blunt, but fun. Next up we have Silmeria, Summoner of Spirits. It's an alternative card. I think it's one of 2 alternative cards out of the 15 I chose. Flying 500, 1000 for 2 light will. Rest, remove X 100 counters from this card. Put a 0/0 light spirit resonator token with flying and X 100 counters onto the field. It's alright. You can set this up to generate tokens each turn. But I honestly wouldn't use it for this application because the spell half is that much better. The spell half is probably going to make itself a staple in light. It's a remake of a card from Wind, a color shifted card from Wind that is banned in Wanderer. Law of Silence, I think it is. So this is Dance of Spirits. 2 light will, quick cast. Your opponent cannot place spells until the end of turn. Or, in other words, 2 light will, your opponent can't do anything except activated abilities. I think that's pretty neato. I think it does suit light a lot more than it does wind. Light has a lot more of that theme of no, in terms of law and order, not cancelling things. So I think this one needed to be mentioned because of the raw power. Pardon me. Sorry, I'm having a bit of drink while I'm doing this. Has a raw power behind it that it needed to be on the list. I think it's gonna probably end up a bit of cash. Next up, we have the Spirit of the Star. Quick cast flying for 1 light will. 200 for the stats. And to reveal the top card of your deck and count the number of will attributes and its cost. Put X 100 counters on target entity you control, where X is the number of will symbols you counted this way. Or in other words, it's the full use of both effects of, what's her name, Aborozuki in 1 card for light will. Now, the reason I like this one is it brings some redundancy to the deck. When I was talking about Flute and Star Dragon, I was saying you needed Flute, Star Dragon, Aborozuki, and 2 magic stones to make Star Dragon 2 light will cost. So it becomes 17 with flying and pierce, I think, for 2 light will. This makes it so it's either Flute or Spirit of the Star. Now, I don't know if the space is going to be in the deck to run both, but there is both there. And it does open the deck up to using the other half of Flute because you don't really need Flute as much. And there's a ton of ways now to put plus 100 counters on a ton of entities you control. There's light producing stones that give themselves counters if you tap them. You can make a Borozuki, put them on them. There's a lot of cool things here. So I like the redundancy this card brings. I really appreciate that. Next up, we have the first of, I think, 2 or 3 treasures I put on this list. As I said, treasures are in all colours. That's why Celestia's Magic Stone works the way it does. Claw of the Dragonoid. Fire will cost. Quick cast. Chance. Your J-Roller gains Pierce and Swiftness until end of turn. Draw a card. Shuffle this back into its owner's deck as it resolves. Swiftness and Pierce for just Fire will. Well, I think that's really good. I think that is a genuinely good card. I think having to wait a turn or J activate later to get Swiftness and Pierce to just go to town on them is worth it. I think it's good for Lilius too. I think Celeste's gonna love it because she's just this big, unkillable monstrosity as a J roller. Just she can now just lumber her way through and smash up everything. With Pierce and what's the stats like 35 minimum. Uh, Probably 36 with this. Sorry, not 36 42 because she gains 7 for each one. She's pretty good in my books. I think she's going to be a lot of fun and a really good J Roll. She can actually use this for free too, so there's that. She has a lot going for her. Next up, we have Lilius as Mentor. 100, 600 for 2 Fire Will. It gains plus 100 for each strength counter on your J Ruler. You can gain a ton of strength counters in this deck. You're gaining 5 a turn anyway, more or less. Anyway, you don't need to focus on it as much because there are more ways to gain strength counters now. Because we got whole pig back, I believe, as a alternative card. But I just really like the idea of it becomes stronger with her, and when it enters, it deals damage equal to its attack to target J Resonator. So it's a kill spell for 2 on a body that's going to be extremely high amount /600. There's a lot of cool things you can do with that. I think it gets really interesting if you can give it Pierce, which you can New Frontiers. Not Cluster, which is what I primarily play, but New Frontiers, I think it's pretty good. I think it might be a bit too easy to answer, but I really like it. Next up we have Shrine of the Dragonoids. It's an addition for fire. Rest it if a fire source you control will deal damage. This turn it deals that much plus 200 instead. This counts for all your fire things that deal damage. It just adds on the damage to just kill them to death, either with Pierce or burn damage, etc., etc. If you have to use the strength counters for whatever reason, I don't think anything actually costs strength counters yet, but if you do for whatever reason, Lilius doesn't need them as much. You can make up a few of them. Going into water, we have Academy Guard of Lychee. It is a 1 cost quick cast, 400, 400. Each player may only play 1 Resonator spell per turn. Each player may only play 1 Chance spell per turn. So, this is actually really good for quite a few water rulers. The ones that speak out to me, the original Valentina, and obviously Celeste. Celeste mostly uses effects to get things into play. She doesn't actually cast them. So her using this, it's actually pretty good for her. It doesn't affect her as much, while it slows your opponent down to a crawl, because she's putting those treasures on the chase. She's not casting them. But I also really like it with Valentina, because her ruler side flashes things in as an effect. She doesn't play them either. Actually, Valentina got all 3 of the cards we're going to talk about today. I really like in Val. Actually, I think one's good in Charlotte too. So back support for older rulers. Probably not intention, but I like it. And works perfectly with Celeste too. Great card. I really like it. Next up we have our second, so we have 3 alternative cards on this list. Chalena, sorceress of sending back. The other half of this card is send back from the Alice cluster, by the way. It's a 1 cost 300, 500 with the following effect. Enter you may return target resonated to its owner's hand. If an entity your opponent controls would be put into its owner's hand by an ability other than this card, so another effect, you may put it on the bottom of its owner's deck instead. So, every bounce becomes spin. Can I get this in Magic, please? I would really, really appreciate this with Engulf the Shore. But that said, there's a lot of bounce in Force of Will now. There's another. The last card I want to talk about bounces, and this card with that card are really funny together, especially with Valentina's ability to just flash things in. It's just hilarious to me. Uh, Turning bounce into true removal, and honestly the best form of removal because they can't do anything about it. Beautiful. And well, they can't use it again unless they tutor, I should say. And it's only a rare, so it's not going to be hard to get. And as I said, the other half is send back. Return target addition, resonator, or regalia to its owner's hand. Was frankly garbage in the Alice cluster. Only good for temporarily getting rid of things. But now with this girl, she makes it spin, and you probably just want to use the original one. And any quick cast ones that have similar effects. Really good. I like this card a lot. Next up, obviously, we have Waterfront Frog. 1 water cost, 100, 900 as the stats. It's alright by me. Whenever this card deals damage to a resonator, return it to its owner's hand, or spin it with Chalena out. Whenever it deals damage to a player, draw a card. Oh hey, Val just got stronger. And Val can now have infinite hand, by the way. So Val can just keep getting bigger and bigger as a J-Ruler. Lots of cards for Val here. This card gains flying as long as you have 5 or more cards in your hand, which is not hard to get. So what you really want 2 of this card around. So you wait till your opponent is starting to swing in. Hopefully you have Chalena out. Flash in this. Spin their card. Next turn, summon another one. And then attack with this one to draw a card. Because it's probably gonna have flying. They're not gonna have a resonator. Chances are they can't block it. Even in New Frontiers and Cluster, where it's just that sluggish play with Chalena and it just serves as a wall, I like it. I think it's nifty. I think it just sits there and looks really good. Now, it doesn't have first strike, so it's not before. It doesn't work like Medusa does, so that's worth taking into account. But I really like the card. I think it's nifty. Next up, we have Lychee on the Magical Academy. It's a 3 cost or win edition. You may pay win less to play this card for each chant you've played this turn. So Unceasing Wind Unceasing Wind helps all 3 of those cards I'm going to talk about in Wind. But that card is a 4 of staple. But this one is actually really good. Rest. This turn, you may play your next chant with a total cost of 2 or less without paying its cost. So you start making your chants free to just get up that huge cycle of chants to get up to those threshold amounts. Now, I will say all the actual ramp in this set is fairly lackluster. I don't think it really helps Wells all that much. But I do like this theme of playing chance to hit a certain threshold and then getting effects. I think that's pretty neat. And this facilitating that and being really cheap to get out, it's good. I like it. I think it helps a lot. And if you have multiple out, hey, you can get multiple chance a turn for free. That's nifty in my books. Next up we have Spirit of Magic. Now this was seen on one of the earlier light cards. It's a 400 for wind with flying. Now it has these types of effects. When you play your first chant this turn, it gains 400 until end of turn. When you play your second chant this turn, draw a card. When you play your third or subsequent chant this turn, this card does 800 damage to target J Resonator. That still hits a lot of stuff. It's beefy at 800. You're going to draw a card each turn with the previous card, and unceasing winds. You just keep going and going, going till you get all effects, and you probably hit their board quite a few times and start clearing them out. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff here. It relies on your opponent not doing anything against you, but yeah, I quite like this card. I think it plays into that unceasing wind combo along with the previous card really, really well. As I said, I'm starting to like parts of wind. I just don't like Welser, and at least the whole J ruler part of it. I think if you ignored Welser's J ruler side, it'd actually be a fun deck. But that's I'm not sure that's a wise decision, ignoring the J ruler, especially for just one untap a turn. It's not. It's all right, but it's not great. So again, that effect. Student at the Academy. It's a 200/200 for wind. Whenever you play a chain, put 2 +100/+100 counters on this card. So as we've said, unceasing wind, cycle, 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 cycle. Just keep them on a cycle, making them free. You can just pump this and pump this and pump this and make it a big fat boy really quick. It's not hard to get him up to a 600/600 on his first turn, maybe 800/800. You can just make him keep growing and growing, and I think he's pretty good. I think he's an interesting card. Why doesn't Light have this for life gain? Does everyone understand how much original Faria would have loved this? Just saying. If we ever go back to something that has a life gain theme for Light, this has to be in Light. It's a copy of Ajani's Pride, mate. It blatantly is, but it's such a nifty one that you have more control over, in my opinion, especially in green. So let's get over to Darkness with the Arm of the Demon. This is our second treasure, I believe. Darkness, quick cast, J resonators. You control gain Drain and Bane until end of turn. Shuffle this card into its owner's deck. This one doesn't draw you a card, but how strong is Celeste again? 35 plus, I believe. Now she has Drain and Bane, so she's going to gain you such a huge amount of life, and whatever fights against her is going to die, and you just keep draining them and draining them of resonators. Even if they block you, you gain so much life they can't do much about it, and through all your other treasures you just get rid of their board, gain a bunch of stuff, do all this cool stuff. Great card. But what I also like about this card is other applications. So say you have a field full of whatever, you go for the attack. Okay, Bane and Drain. If you block anything, I gain life, and whatever you blocked with dies. They attack you. Arm of the Demon. Okay, all the guys that can block with have Drain and Bane. Have fun with that. I'm taking you down with me. I think that's a lot of fun. I think this card is genuinely good. I know my mate's making Celeste, so we all need a play set of this. I'm going to have to get a set for myself. I really, really like this one. Next up, we have Interdimensional Graveyard. I really like this one too because it's so open-ended. It's a one-cost addition. At end of turn, remove target resonator in a graveyard from the game. In a graveyard. Not your graveyard, a graveyard. Put a 400/400 Darkness Zombie Resonator token onto the field, which, what's his name? Mikage can sacrifice for whatever effect. But just produce a token each turn. And you can play multiple. And you can just make token, remove their graveyard token. Remove your own graveyard because some of your cards aren't that useful after they die. There's this Resonator. It's a 1-drop. When it dies, it makes a 400/400 token. You can move it to make another 400/400 token. Ain't that neat? This card just starts taking advantage of you killing your opponent's guys, discarding their hand. It's really Darkness feeling. And it's actually kind of funny. Last couple of sets, it got revealed that Rezard got his zombie affiliation through Mikage. We're seeing Mikage finally have that zombie affiliation. He's never had it before. I don't believe he's ever been connected to zombies before. He's always been the vampire lord. But hey, finally seeing it. And I think it's a lot of fun. I know the Lich deck was a thing with Revival as well, but I don't know enough about it to know how good or bad it was. And the final card we have is Lord of the Undead. I'm really leaning to making a zombie theme deck. Uh, I bet my friend's happy that we play cluster format, not Wanderer or New Frontiers, because, well, this plus Sigurd would be all types of fun. So, oh, and Necromancy of the Undead Lord to make things zombies. Oh, and you have all the zombie tokens. So, let's just get on with it. It's a 600, 700 for 2 Darkness Will. It's only a rare. Other zombies you control gain 400, 400. Revenge. Now, Revenge won't trigger for tokens, but it'll trigger for your guys. Again, Sigurd, you can just keep sacking Sigurd via the Mikage's effect, and then cast him to bring him back out, and you get the Revenge abilities. Enter, put a 400, 400 Darkness zombie token onto the field. So if one of your guys died and you bring him out, or you killed one of your guys, then you bring him out, oh hey, you get an 800, 800 token. And you can have 2 of this out, so you can just keep pumping those tokens, pumping those tokens up, pumping your other zombies. Because there's a few decent zombies. What's her name? Bizarre Zombie might see some play now. And you can keep making the tokens. It really depends on how easily you can get rid of Sigurd. I think there's decent ways. What's it called? Soul Hunt is still a good card in my opinion. Raya to just pump him from the graveyard into the discard pile. But to be perfectly honest, oh jeez, I just remembered Sigurd can bring this out too. So yeah, Raya into Sigurd, just keep going for it. Oh boy, that just made another deck for New Frontiers. That's gonna make people happy. And Deadly Dive. As an additional cost to pay this card, banish all zombie resonators you control, costs 3 Darkness Will. This card deals damage equal to the total attack of all banished resonators to your opponent. So it's just a big old murder card. Now, I don't know if they lose those stats from the buffs the moment this is played and they're banished. I don't think they do. Not from the way this is worded. So, pump up zombies with stuff like Niflheim, like the Lord of the Undead, and then just cast this. Again, it's one of those cards that once one half cast with the other in play, and just bomb them. You just win. I like this. I like this quite a lot. Actually, all the zombie tokens work well with the Undead Lord card. Actually, all the removal from the graveyard works well with all the mill in Rezard too, in Zombies and Niflheim. Yeah, you have to. It's not a may. Yeah. There are other things I need to discuss with this set. They're not good things. They related to the drop rates. I think everyone knows what they are right now. But as a set by itself with none of the baggage of the booster packs, I really enjoy it. I think it is a fun set. It's not the most creative of sets, but it does a lot right. It plays off a lot of things people liked from the past, and I think building on your bases is a good thing. I don't think you always have to be new stuff, new stuff, new stuff. You can add some new stuff and just use old stuff in new ways and have fun with it. Be creative with it. That's you don't have to be creative in terms of new stuff. You can be creative in terms of using old stuff in a new way. I should put it that way. And I think this set does that well. I like a lot of it. And I'm curious how it'll go in New Frontiers. I'll be making uh, a Borozuki and Mikage. I don't know when I'll get them together because the place I get singles from is sorting through a bunch of new singles and has nothing up at the moment. But I'll be playing a bit on Untap, especially over Christmas, and you'll probably see a lot of that because I'm not posting actual scripted videos or talky videos over Christmas break. I need a break from stuff, and I just want to put small stuff on over the break. But anyway, tell me what you thought of the set. As I said, I really like it. There's some problems with it, but as I said, I really enjoyed it. I think it's fun. I think it's flavoursome, and I think it took some parts of Forceville and that really didn't need to be told, but made them interesting enough to make them worth being told. This has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.